Shalom. All praises to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Kakodash. Double honors to the elder apostles, the bishops, and the elders of GMS who rules well. Peace and salutations to the elect. My name is Tainah. The title of the video is Zephaniah chapter 2. All right, Zephaniah chapter 2 goes into end time prophecy, right, regarding the land of Babylon being destroyed and also the land of Israel being destroyed, right? This is Zephaniah chapter 2, verse 1. It says, gather yourselves together. Yeah, gather together, O nation not desired. This is the Israelites. It says, before the decree bring forth, before the day pass as the chaff, before the fierce anger of the Lord Yahweh, Bashim shall come upon you, before the day of the Lord's anger come upon you. Seek ye the Lord Yahweh, Bashim shall all ye meek of the earth, which have wrought his judgment. Seek righteousness, seek meekness. It may be you shall be hid in the day of the Lord's anger. Right. So this is talking about the elect. Right. In the last days, those of us that's trying to return back to the Lord and rehearse the righteous acts. All right, because the Lord's about to do a great work in the world, regarding the destruction of America and Israel and wherever else these missiles might get hit, because we can see the war with Iran, right, is in full swing. Trump has sent a ceasefire request to Iran, and they said no. They said, we'll be the judge of when the ceasefire happens and when, how it happened, all of that. They're attacking, shooting missiles at the aircraft carriers out there, shooting missiles at all bases. The Strait of Hormuz is being kind of stopped because they're shooting missiles at the tankers going over there. So like ships on both sides are just anchored and they're not moving. So it's looking like this could be the attack that's going to start World War III, and I say that because the scriptures tell us that, Iran will be joined with Russia, and many people join with them to attack, Israel in America, right? And this will end with nuclear missiles being shot. And these nations, America and Israel and Russia, they have these nuclear missiles, all right? So somehow, some way, these different nations will get involved. And there's a lot of ways that they could get involved. We have the BRICS situation that, Russia, China, I believe Iran's in there too. They have this, even regarding their currency, getting it backed by gold or silver, right? So they have a lot of different agreements regarding that BRICS. Then you have the different military agreements that have been signed, which I've seen that Russia and China has already gave equipment to Iran, and then basically they don't want to see the fall of Iran because it'll weaken their whole BRICS operation. So we'll just have to wait and see. But because like I said before, America had already struck Iran and then they left. It was during the 12-day war. At the end of that, America struck them and then they said peace. Right, the scriptures say when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction. Right, and so far, it's been destruction. There hasn't been peace. It was just all a lie. Right, you have the board of peace now attacking Iran. All right, Trump been ahead of that. All right, so we are seeking the Lord while He may be found. Before things just heat up. Ultimately, because you have Amos 8:11 regarding the famine of the word, because if you don't have this word, then you don't know what to do, right? You don't know who you are, that you need to seek the Lord, that you need to repent, turn back to Him, all right? Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 1, it says, remember now thy Creator in the days of thy youth, while the evil days come not, nor the years draw nigh when thou shalt say, I have no pleasure in them. Yeah, you could look at that and equate that to all hell breaking loose. Right, you don't have a job, you barely have a roof over your head, you're barely eating, right? Because that's the lowest wrath, lowest anger on the world. Jacob's trouble. It says, while the sun or the light or the moon or the stars be not darkened, nor the clouds return after the rain. Scriptures talk about the sun and the moon being dark, going into the many missiles being shot. and ultimately the nuclear missiles being shot, blocking the skies. You can already see that happening, uh, in these other places like Iran right now, Israel in the different bases with these missiles being shot. Smoke is in the sky, blocking the sky. All right. Ecclesiastes chapter 4, verse 3, it says, in the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble, and the strong men shall bow themselves, and the grinders cease, because they are few, and those that look out the windows be darkened. No work, like I was saying. All right, mighty men, with their hands on their loins as women. It says, and the door shall be shut in the streets when the sound of the grinding is low, and he shall rise up at the voice of the bird, and all the doors of music shall be brought low. Also, when they shall be afraid of that which is high, and fear shall be in the way, and the almond tree shall flourish, and the grasshopper shall be a burden, and desire shall fail, because man go to his long home, and the mourners go about the streets. Or ever the silver cord be loose, or the golden bowl be broken, or the pitcher be broken at the fountain, or the wheel broken at the cistern. Or you can get this in the NLT to better understand it, because it goes into, also you just getting, older in age also. All right, but we can use this for things shutting down, in the world. Ecclesiastes 12:1, it says, don't let the excitement of youth cause you to forget your creator. Honor him in your youth before you grow old and say life is not pleasant anymore. Remember him before the light of the sun, moon, and stars is dim to your old eyes, and rain clouds continually darken your sky. Remember him before your legs, the guards of your house, start to tremble, and before your shoulders, the strong men stoop. Remember him before your teeth, your few remaining servants stop grinding, and before your eyes, the woman looking through the window see dimly. Remember him before the doors to life opportunities is closed and the sound of work fades. Now you rise at the first chirping of the birds, but then all your sound will grow faint. All right. So that's a good point. It says, life's opportunities is closed, which, if you're in spirit, we're seeking a continuing city. All right. There's not much opportunities here for us in our captivity, because that's exactly where we are. We're in captivity, right? And the whole world is set up against, us to, basically achieve much of anything, right? And that's why we as a people don't have our own, right? We don't vote for our own president. We don't have our own land that we live in or anything like that. Where since slavery, we've been, with our slave masters, basically. All right, so you get the point with that. So again, Zephaniah 2:3, seek ye the Lord Yahweh, Bashim Yahushai, all you meek of the earth, which have wrought his judgment. Seek righteousness, seek meekness. It may be ye shall be hid in the day of the Lord's anger. For Gaza shall be forsaken, and Ashkelon a desolation. They shall drive out Ashdod at the noonday, and Ekron shall be rooted up. Now this is talking about the Middle East over there, the Levant region, right, where Israel is at. These are different cities in that area. And right now it's being hit with missiles from Iran. And like I said, if this, this could be the war. The scriptures talk about wars, rumors of wars, right? But there's going to be one last war, which is World War III, right? Revelation 11:14, where nuclear missiles will be shot. All right, and we know that they will be shot on Israel and America. All right, so it's already started up and taking place now, but it's not nuclear yet. It says, woe unto the inhabitants of the sea coast, the nation of the Cherethites. The word of the Lord Yahweh, Bashim Yahushai, will be to you. O Canaan, the land of the Philistines, I will even destroy thee, that there shall be no inhabitant. Shall be no inhabitant. Right. That's what the scriptures talk about in Joel 2. This is going into the nuclear missiles. Joel 2:3. I get it from 1. Joel 2:1 says, blow you the trumpet in Zion, and sound an alarm at my holy mountain. Let all the inhabitants of the land tremble, for the day of the Lord Yahweh shall cometh, for it is nigh at hand. a day of darkness and gloominess, a day of clouds and of thick darkness. As the morning spread upon the mountains, a great people and is grown, there have not been ever the like, neither shall be any more after it, even to the years of many generations. Right, because in was it Isaiah chapter 2, the nations will be coming to us. I want to confirm that that's correct. Might get it a little bit later. Right. In Isaiah chapter 2, like I said, I might get a little later. Is the nations will be, coming to us, learning from us, and they won't learn war anymore, right? Because it's talking about the nuclear missiles in this Joel chapter 2. This is Isaiah 2 and 4. It says, I'll start at 1. All right. It says Isaiah 2 and 1. It says, the word that Isaiah the son of Amos saw concerning Judah and Jerusalem. It shall come to pass in the last days that the mountain of the Lord's house shall be established in the top of the mountains, and shall be exalted above all the hills, and all nations shall flow unto it. Right? Because the Israelites got next. Right? The Israelites will rule, after the fall of Babylon the Great. It says, and many people shall go and say, come ye, and let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, to the house of the power of Jacob, and he will teach us of his ways, and we will walk in his paths. For out of Zion shall go forth the law, and the word of the Lord Yahweh from Jerusalem. And he shall judge among the nations, and shall rebuke many people, and they shall beat their swords into plowshares, and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. All right. So when you get to Joel 2, because it's what I was going to say. I was going to say it's always going to be people. All right. But then I thought, it won't be like soldiers or anything like that, besides for the 144,000, but it won't be missiles like this, weapons like this, no more. Joel 2 and 2, it says a day of darkness and of gloominess, a day of clouds and of thick darkness. As the morning spread upon the mountains, a great people and is strong. There have not been ever the like, neither shall be any more after it, even to the years of many generations. A fire devoureth before them, and behind them a flame burneth. The land is as the garden of Eden before them, and behind them a desolate wilderness. Yeah, nothing shall escape them. Right. So once these missiles hit, that's why the elect will need to be beamed up out of America, predominantly America and everywhere else where the missiles may hit. Right, the elect will be beamed up, but America's going to be destroyed completely with nuclear missiles. Right, and the missiles also are going to hit Israel. And it's going to do the same thing that it's going to do to Israel. The difference is Israel is going to be built back up. But once it's destroyed, nothing's going to be there. All right. This is why it says in Zephaniah 2 and 5, woe unto the inhabitants of the sea coast, the nation, the Cherethites, the word of the Lord Yahweh shall against me, O Canaan, the land of the Philistines. I will even destroy thee, that there shall be no inhabitant. All right. In the sea coast shall be dwellings and cottages for shepherds, and folds for flocks. It says, and the coast shall be for the remnant of the house of Judah. They shall feed thereupon, in the houses of Ashkelon shall they lie down in the evening. And that's how you know. After the destruction, Israel's going to be built back up, because that's our land. We're going to build back up. When it goes into America, you get Isaiah 13. It doesn't talk about us going over there doing anything. It just says the animals are going to be there, which we'll get. Zephaniah 2 and 7 says, and the coast shall be for the remnant of the house of Judah. They shall feed thereupon. In the houses of Ashkelon shall they lie down in the evening. For the Lord Yahweh, their power shall visit them and turn away their captivity. Once again, because we're in captivity now. Right? We're not ruling. We don't even have land for ourselves. We can't even have like a small government, a mayor, right? A police station. We don't have none of that. We're in captivity. It says, I have heard the reproach of Moab, and the revealings of the children of Ammon, whereby they have reproached my people and magnified themselves against their border. Let's get that word revealings, revealings. Reproaches. Search it up. Says reviling words are abusive, are contemptuous, and insulting verbal attack designed to injure a person's character, reputation, or honor. All right, we got another word here. Contempt, scornful, right? So hurtful things. Zephaniah 2 and 9 says, therefore, as I live, saith the Lord Yahweh, Bashmel shall boast, the power of Israel, surely Moab shall be as Sodom, and the children of Ammon as Gomorrah, even the breeding of nettles and salt pits in a perpetual desolation. The residue of my people shall spoil them, and the remnant of my people shall possess them. Yeah, and that goes into the fact that we're going to bind up all the kings, with chains and everything, and all nations will serve under us. All right. This shall they have for their pride, because they have reproached and magnified themselves against the people of the Lord Yahweh Bashmel Shahus. The Lord Yahweh Bashmel Shah will be terrible unto them, where he will banish all the gods of the earth, and men shall worship him, which I read in Isaiah chapter 2. Every one from his place, even all the isles of the heathen. Ye Ethiopians also, ye shall be slain by the sword. He will stretch out his hand against the north and destroy Assyria, and will make Nineveh a desolation and dry like the wilderness. And this is going to that Isaiah 13. It says, and flock shall lie down in the midst of her, all the beasts of the nations. Both the cormorant and the Briton shall lodge in the upper rentals of it. Their voice shall sing in the windows. Desolation shall be in the threshold, for he shall uncover the cedar wood. Okay, so we get it down here. This is Isaiah 13, and I'll just get it from 17. Because once again, this could be the war that starts, or basically starts World War III. A lot of people say we are already in World War III, but this could be the one that everyone says, okay, this is World War III. Isaiah 13 and 17, it says, behold, I will stir up the Medes, which is Russia, against them, which shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it. Their bows also shall dash the young men to pieces. This is nuclear missiles, the different missiles they have. All right, because even look now, you have war with Iran, U.S. and Israel. They're using their bows and arrows, which would be their missiles. They're just not using the nuclear warhead, because if you have an arrow or a bow, some people light their arrows on fire and shoot them. Some people just shoot the bow regular, It says their bows also shall dash the young men to pieces, and they shall have no pity on the fruit of the womb. Their eyes shall not spare children. In Babylon, the glory of kingdoms, the beauty of the Chaldees' excellency, shall be as when Yahweh, Bashmel Shah, overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. See, so we see Babylon's going to be destroyed, completely. It shall never be inhabited, neither shall it be dwelt in from generation to generation, neither shall the Arabian pitch tent there, neither shall the shepherds make their foals there. But as for Israel, in Zephaniah 2, it said that we would make foals there. We're going to pitch our tent there, right? Because Israel is going to be built back up after it's destroyed, right? Jeremiah 50:45 tells us that, that land's going to be destroyed. Jeremiah 50:45 says, Therefore, hear ye the counsel of the Lord Yahweh Bashim they have taken against Babylon, and his purposes that he has proposed against the land of the Chaldeans. Says, surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Surely he shall make their habitation desolate with them. So America and Israel both will be destroyed. It'll be desolate. The difference is Israel will be built back up, right? As it says there in Zephaniah 2. And America is going to be never dwelt in ever again, as it says in Isaiah 13. So verse 46 says, at the noise of the taking of Babylon, the earth is moved, and the cry is heard among the nations. All right, so Isaiah 13:20, it says, it shall never be inhabited, neither shall it be dwelt in from generation to generation, neither shall the Arabian pitch tent there, neither shall the shepherds make their fold there. But the wild beasts of the desert shall lie there, and their houses shall be full of doleful creatures, and owls shall dwell there, and satyrs shall dance there. All right, these are desert creatures. And the wild beasts of the islands shall cry in their desolate houses, and dragons in their pleasant palaces. And her time is near to come, and her days shall not be prolonged. All right, so it's not going to be a long time. The scriptures talk about, us hastening the days being shortened, right? NLT says, hyenas will howl in its fortresses, and jackals will make dens in its luxurious palaces. Babylon's days are numbered. Its time of destruction will soon arrive. All right. Zephaniah 2:14, it says, and flock shall lie down in the midst of her, all the beasts of the nations, both the cormorant and the Briton shall lodge in the upper lintels of it. Their voice shall sing in the windows. Desolation shall be in the thresholds, for he shall uncover the cedar wood. So it says in NLT. It says the proud city will become a pasture for flocks and herds, and all sorts of wild animals will settle there. Desert owl and screech owl will roost on its ruined columns, their calls echoing through the gaping windows. Rubble will block all the doorways, and the cedar paneling will be exposed to the weather. This is the rejoicing city that dwelt carelessly, right? That said in her heart, I am, and none else beside me. Or that's in Isaiah 47. Isaiah 47, it says, and thou saidest, I shall be a lady forever, so that thou didst not lay these things to thy heart. Now thou didst remember the latter end of it. So that's one. Have see Jeremiah 50. Let me go over here and just see if I can precept it. They have that too. Where I am. Oh, okay. It was. I missed it. Isaiah 47:8. So Isaiah 47:7, it says, and thou saidest, I shall be a lady forever. Right. So this is what Babylon is saying. It says, so that thou didst not lay these things to thy heart, neither didst remember the latter end of it. Therefore, hear now this, thou that art given to pleasures, that dwellest carelessly, that said to thine heart, I am, and none else beside me. I shall not sit as a widow, neither shall I know the loss of children. Right? It says, but these two things shall come to thee in a moment, and one day the loss of children and widowhood. They shall come upon thee in their perfection, for the multitude of thy sorceries, and for the great abundance of thine enchantments. Right? Zephaniah 2:15, this is the rejoicing city that dwelt carelessly, that said in her heart, I am, there is none beside me. How is she become a desolation, a place for beasts to lie down in? Everyone that passes by her shall hiss and wag his hand. All right. So, hey, just prophecy about the judgment against Israel in America, right? A snare, a trap has been laid for these devils, right? That's exactly what's happening right now. Trump was saying they didn't plan for a war to go, past a certain amount of days, you know. And after he did the strike and he killed the leader over there, he was asking for a ceasefire, and they said no, And now people are saying that they don't even have enough weapons to continue the war. Jeremiah 50:22, it says, a sound of battle is in the land and of great destruction. How is the hammer of the whole earth cut asunder and broken? How is Babylon become a desolation among the nations? I have laid a snare for thee, and thou art also taken, O Babylon, and thou was not aware. Thou art found and also caught, because thou hast striven against the Lord Yahweh Bashmiel Shai. It says, the Lord Yahweh Bashmiel Shai have opened his armory and have brought forth the weapons of his indignation. For this is the work of the Lord Yahweh Bashmiel Shai of hosts in the land of the Chaldeans. So America's going to be destroyed, and now they're in that snare, which is a trap in the Middle East, fighting Iran, a war that people are saying they cannot win. And the scriptures tell us they won't win it, right? Because Russia's going to get involved, and the rest of the people join Russia's going to get involved. Even NATO and EU is going to get involved, and they're all going to shoot missiles on America. Right? We're just watching it unfold. All right, and like I said, it's prophecy. That was Zephaniah chapter 2. All right, Lord willing, you edify from the lesson, Shalom, to those elect, which consists of men, women, and children, Shalom.